last time we were discussing, you guys remember I brought a bucket to Shiur. Remember what I called my bucket? Called it the morning after bucket. There's we learned that there was a takana by Ezra Sofer that anytime someone goes anytime a man has relations or a woman has relations, they're not allowed to study Torah until they go to the mikveh. Takanat Ezra. The mikveh has the volume measurement of 40 seah, which we spoke about last time. We did all of the math. It's a large amount, and a person has to fully submerge in the mikveh. It's like a pool of water. It has to be kosher, right? But we saw that there was a leniency of that. It doesn't need to be dipping in 40 seah. It could be pouring 9 kavin on yourself. That could be enough. We did the math. 9 kavin was about 12 liters. And I had a bucket that we used. It came with the mop. That bucket was right about 12 liters. So it's like almost exactly tisha kavin. You take that bucket, it's about yay big, fill it up. And we did the math. I asked some of you guys to experiment to see, run your shower water to see how long it's going to take. And of course, everyone's experiments had nothing to do with the actual shower head. It all had to do with GPT or Meta AI or something. It ended up being that depending on how fast your water pressure is, within 5 minutes for sure, probably even less, you're able to fill up tisha kavin. So it's a very simple requirement from that perspective. Okay. Then we started speaking about how there's a lot of leniencies, how some opinions say it doesn't have to be, just as it doesn't have to be a full mikveh, it doesn't have to be a kosher mikveh, it could be a different type of a mikveh. And then we said altogether that Rabbi Adam and Torah says, "En divrei Torah mikavlin tuma." This whole thing didn't apply, didn't last. Either there was a takana that was revoked at some time, or there was no takana, it never really took hold. Okay? So now there was one more discussion that we had, was this leniency of tisha kavin, of the 9 kav instead of the 40 seah, instead of dunking in a mikveh. That leniency is a machloket if that applies for everyone, or only if someone were sick, or only if it happened by accident. Like there's a difference between a person that intentionally has relations or unintentionally has an emission. If it's unintentional, maybe there's more leniency in that case. Or if a person is sick, maybe there's more leniency in that case. Or maybe you need both. Maybe it's that if it's a situation where it's unintentional and the person is sick, then they won't be required to go to the mikveh. So there's all different opinions. At the end, we said, nowadays, Shulchan Aruch says this doesn't apply. Okay? So let's go ahead. We're going to pick up from Berachot of Kafbet Amud Bet. I'm going to share screen. And let's see how this goes. Start broadcast. 3, 2, 1. Hey, Shalom Aleichem. Okay, here we are. I am sharing my screen. We are picking up from Berachot, Daf Kafbet Amud Bet. If you're looking at in the screen, it's right there where we are. It starts with Tanur Rabbanan. If you're looking at the art scroll, Tanur Rabbanan starts on 22B2. 22B2. Here we go. Tanur Rabbanan. Ba'al Keri shenanu alav tisha kavin ma'im tahor. Here we go. There is a Baraita that's going to give us 2 statements, and these 2 statements we're going to analyze as we conclude the concept of a Ba'al Keri. Concept number 1, a Ba'al Keri that put tisha kavin on himself of water, tahor. He is now pure, right? That's the leniency. When does this leniency apply? That's if he's going to learn Torah for himself. Person wants to say Shema Yisrael. Person wants to read Torah. If a person is going to read for himself, then he has the 9 kav leniency. Aval la'acherim. But if he wants to teach Torah to other people, arba'im seah, then that leniency doesn't apply. A person wants to teach a shiur, he needs to be on a higher level. If a person wants to do something for himself, then he could study Torah for himself. He could use the 9 kav leniency, but if he wants to teach others, it's only if he has 40, then he has to go to 40 seah, meaning situation like that, you need to do it aleph. You need to make sure that you do everything 100%. Now, another statement that the way it's explained is that this is not related. It's a different law about a Ba'al Keri, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, arba'im seah mikol makom. When we say 40 seah, when we say that a Ba'al Keri has to do 40 seah, it's in any way. 40 seah in any way. Okay, it's like any type of 40 seah. It's not clear what the statement means, and we're going to see it's a machloket as to what the statement means. But it's a leniency. Okay, so what he's saying, Rabbi Yehuda is saying, by the way, the 40 seah, this isn't the full-fledged 40 seah. It's in any way. Like, what does that mean? What exactly are you what leniency are you giving us here? The Gemara is going to elaborate. Okay, so we have here two leniencies. The first one says that we have a leniency of 9 kav, but that's only if a person is studying for himself, whereas if he's teaching, he needs to do 40 seah, meaning he needs to go into the mikveh. That's leniency number one. That's being restricted only if one studies for himself. Leniency number two, Rabbi Yehuda tells us that when we talk about 40 seah, that's in any way, which we have to clarify. Now, it's a machloket. Both of these lines is going to be a machloket. Line number one that says the leniency of 9 kavin only applies if a person's is studying for himself. But if he wants to teach, he has to go to the mikveh. Machloket. Two opinions as to, about this. That's the reisha, the first phrase of the Baraita. There's two opinions. And the seah, the second statement of the Baraita, that says, Rabbi Yehuda says, you need 40 seah in any way. That ambiguous statement is machloket as to what it means. Now, here are the players in the machloket, but we don't know who said what. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, there were two rabbis. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi was the first group. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina is the second group. So we have two sets of colleagues. The first two is Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Then you have Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina. So you have four rabbis, two sets of colleagues. Chad mehaizuga, v'chad mehaizuga aresha. One of this group and one of this group is arguing about the first phrase of the Baraita, and then the other one of this group and the other one of this group is arguing about the second phrase of this Baraita. We just know that these two colleagues, they crisscrossed, and they spoke with someone else, meaning it wasn't their immediate friend or a chavruta, but there was in that pair. It was another person, but they discussed these two lines of the Baraita. Chad amar. So one of them. Let's talk about the first thing, the reisha. So remind me, what is the reisha? What's the first phrase of the Baraita?
Or non-kavin on yourself if you're just reading Torah yourself.
Very good. The leniency of a Ba'al Keri using 9 kav, of pouring the bucket on himself, that leniency only applies if he's for le'atzmo, studying Torah for himself. But if he wants to teach others, you have to go to the mikveh. So chad amar had amart b'amed devarim amrim le'atzmo aval la'acherim arba'im seah. That when we say that it's only for yourself, but if for others you have to go to the mikveh, lo shanu ela l'choleha margil. That leniency only applies for a sick person. Sorry, that stringency of making a teacher go to the mikveh since he's teaching, that's only if it is a sick person that it deliberately had relations. Then you require him to go to the mikveh. Aval lechole leonso. If it was a sick person and it happened by accident, tisha kabin. Even 9 kav is enough. V'chad amar kol ha'acharim, and the second opinion says no. Kol ha'acharim. Anytime you're teaching someone else, afilu lechole leonso, even if it's a sick person who it happened by accident, ad di'ika arba'im seah, until he has 40 seah. Okay, so the idea is when someone goes to the mikveh, it's cold. Okay, mikveh. Imagine a natural body of water. Imagine going to the Great Neck, Long Island Sound. Okay, in the middle of the winter, and having to go dip there in the morning. So if someone is in good health, people do this. So these athletes go dunk themselves into iced coffee all the time. No, what is it? Ice plunge. Yeah, exactly. Not iced coffee. They just go into the ice. They do that for like 3 minutes and they come out like 2 years younger. This is what. So it's like something. But if someone is sick, they can't do it. So what we're saying is like this. Think about, for example, Magid Shir of Daf Yomi. Okay, someone gives a daf yomi shiur every morning at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. You know they do this. 7 a.m. daf yomi shiur. Okay, 7 a.m. daf yomi shiur. This rabbi knows he's going to give this daf yomi shiur in the morning. So now we have on one hand he has relations with his wife at night. Okay, it's time he's with his wife, so he has to go to the mikveh. Then he says, I'm going to do tisha kavin. I'm only going to wake up in the morning, then I'm going to get dressed and go give the shiur at 7 a.m. Okay, but what's the problem? The problem is he's teaching. So it's not just for himself. And we had the statement of the Baraita that says that leniency of 9 kav only applies for yourself. But if you're teaching, you're required to go to the mikveh. Okay, now we have a machloket. One opinion says, but that only applies if he deliberately had relations. But let's say it happened by accident, you're not going to penalize him. All of a sudden something happened in accident, he's going to miss the shiur. It's okay. For him, he could do 9 kav as long as he's a sick person and it happened accidentally. It didn't happen deliberately. But if it happened deliberately, then he has to go to the mikveh. The other opinion, the second opinion, says no matter what, he has to go to the mikveh. Right? Ad ika 40 seah, you need 40 seah. So it's a matter of the rabbi who's giving a class, how strict are you going to be on him? Will you ever let him give a class with 9 kav? So one opinion here says no. The other one says, I'll only let him do 9 kav if he's both sick and it was an accidental emission. Okay, so like in that case, since it wasn't his fault and he's sick, then you're going to go easy on him. Otherwise, he also needs to go to the mikveh. Now you have another machloket on the second line of the Baraita. What was the second line of the Baraita by Rabbi Yehuda? What did Rabbi Yehuda say? 40 seah micol makom, which means the mikveh could be in any way. Okay, what does that mean? He's giving us some leniency, but what does that mean? Here we go. Had amar Rabbi Yehuda 40 seah micol makom. When Rabbi Yehuda said it could be in any way, lo shanu ela b'karka. That's only if it's in the ground. Aval b'kelim, but if it were in some sort of a vessel, like a barrel, like these ice plunges I've seen people do it in like some sort of a tub. It's not in the ground. It's not like the guy is going inside of a lake. It's going in some sort of a barrel of some sort. Lo, then it doesn't work. So this statement of Yehuda says, I'll only let you do 40 seah in the ground, but not in a vessel. Okay, so this doesn't really work with his statement because his statement is saying 40 seah in any way. It's really giving you some sort of a leniency. But the way this opinion is explaining it, he's actually making it harder. He's saying 40 seah only if it's in the ground. So we're not done. We're going to explain this also. Hold on, we're in the middle of it. We're going to come back to it and we'll explain. And the other one says, afilu b'kelim nami, even if it's in a barrel. Okay, so what the second statement, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, 40 seah mikveh anyway. Okay, what does that mean? Well, one opinion says that it doesn't have to be in the ground; it could even be in the vessel. Okay, but then the other one says that it has to be in the ground. So what's his leniency? It makes sense according to the one that says he can go even in some sort of a barrel. That's what it means when Rabbi Yehuda says 40 seah mikol makom. You can go to the mikveh in anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the ground. It could even be in some sort of a barrel, in some sort of a tub. But the one that says it has to be in the ground, bekarka'in. Bekelim lo, it has to be in the ground, but it can't be in the vessel. It can't be in some sort of a barrel. Mikol makom la'atu emai. So what's he coming to include when he says, oh, it could be anything? La'atuyeh Maim she'uvin. It's coming to include what's called Maim she'uvin, which is drawn water. So there's a rule here. The rule is, by a mikveh, in general, a mikveh has to be from natural rainwater, but here for a Ba'al Keri, you have some leniency, and the leniency is it can be drawn. So let me just explain. Let's say I have a bathtub in my home, and let's say the bathtub in my home, it's a big one, it's a jacuzzi, and I could fill it up with 40 seah. Let's say it fits the body measurement of 40 seah. If I turn on the faucet and I let it just go, is that a kosher mikveh in my bedroom? No. Why? It has to be natural rainwater. That's correct. However, Maim she'uvin means it's drawn water, meaning it's not natural rainwater. It's the opposite. It's drawn water, and there's a leniency for this case with drawn water. That's what this opinion is saying. So let me just say the statements. This statement is as follows: Rabbi Yehuda says, when I tell you 40 seah for a Ba'al Keri, there's a leniency. What's the leniency? It could be in any way. Okay, so what does that mean? According to one, when you say it could be in any way, that means it doesn't have to be rainwater. It could be any way that you got the water is fine. You could fill up a bunch of Poland Spring bottles. Any way is fine as long as you have 40 seah. That's one. That's the leniency according to one opinion. And what's the leniency according to the other opinion? That's the first one, yes, or that's really the second one that I just said. The other one is that it doesn't have to be in the ground. It can be in some sort of a barrel, which typically is not the halacha. Typically, it has to be in the ground. There's a lot of discussion about this.
Extra leniency on top of the first one. The first
No.
one is saying, that's what the second one is saying. It can even not be rainwater. It could be drawn water.
In the ground. So either your leniency is it doesn't have to be rainwater, but it has to be in the ground, which means you could fill it up. So the example that I gave of it being in your bathtub is like assuming that that's part of the. That's not. You're right. You have an in-ground jacuzzi in your house. There you go, or in your backyard. Not in your house, in your backyard. You have an in-ground jacuzzi that you could either let it fill it up with rainwater, or you could fill it up yourself. Since it's in the ground, it's acceptable according to that opinion. And the other opinion is saying no. You need to have rainwater, but it doesn't have to be in the ground. It could be in some sort of a barrel. No. Rainwater is collected. Let's say it's collected in a barrel, for example. Right? Like that's the leniency. Yes.
Rainwater that collected back in the day, however collected into any location, just sat there for weeks at a time. It would collect algae and tons of bacteria. How is this like a good idea to get into?
Okay, very good question. So your question is like where is this getting collected? Just the concept of a mikveh in general. So think about like a lake, like Yam Kinneret. That's a natural body of water. If you're talking about like a small pond in your backyard, that's where you see in the movies that someone goes and drinks that, and then they.
If it wasn't a natural body of water.
Yeah.
They would dig a hole, I assume, back in the day.
Find some sort of a. There is also the concept of going into with a ma'yan. Really off topic. So I don't want to go into it, but yeah, you're right. Like obviously, you have to make sure that it's healthy. You can't go. Actually, we're going to talk about it tonight. There are bodies of water that are dirty, and that comes with some restrictions also. So let's see if we can get up to it. Okay, here we go. Rav Papa, Rav Huna, Berei Rabbi Yoshua, Virabba Rabbi Bar Shmuel. There were three rabbis. You got it? Three rabbis came. Krichu Rifta Bahade Adadi. They're having a meal together. Three rabbis are eating bread. And when they're eating bread, what's happening at the end of them eating bread? They're going to say, Berachot Mazon. And when they're doing Berachot Mazon, one of them have to lead. Okay? Now, remember the leniency that we said how there's a stringency if you're going to teach others. We're now going to learn that stringency applies also if you're leading a mitzvah for others. So just as the rabbi who's giving a class needs to have that higher level of purity in the sense that a regular person can go to do 9 kav, but the rabbi teaching others needs to go to the mikveh, so too, someone who's going to lead in Berachot Mazon has to go to the mikveh. Okay, that's a higher level. So there's three rabbis, and it happens to be that they're going to have a discussion of who should lead. Normally, how do we do it? We point to the Kohen, and we say, B'chavod, and then Nevarech, you do it. You're going to see how they had this discussion based on who was a Ba'al Keri. Rock, paper, scissors? No, they didn't do rock, paper, scissors. They let's see what the story is. So three rabbis, Rav Papa, Rav Huna Berei Rav, Yoshua, Berava Rabbi Shmuel, Krichu Rifta Ba'ade Adadi. Three rabbis were eating together. Amar Lehu Rav Papa, so Rav Papa said to them, Havu li ledidi libroch. I wanted to give me to do Berachot Mazon. I want to do Berachot Mazon. Why? Then pull ilavai tisha kavin, because I poured 9 kavin on myself. This morning I got up, I had the bucket, I did 9 kav, so I could do it. So he's basically saying that even though I'm saying I want to lead for you, 9 kav is enough. Because remember, we started off this Baraita saying that if it only works for yourself, but not for others. Here he's saying, I would do for acherim, and 9 kav is enough. That's what he said. So then what happens? Amalu Rabba B'Rabbi Bar Shmuel. So Rabba says to him, Tanina, we learned in this Braita that doesn't work. When do you have that leniency? La'atzma. That's only if you're going to do it for yourself. Now you want to lead for us in Berachot Mazon. 40 seah. 9 kav wasn't enough. You should have gone to the mikveh. But you should have given it to me. Because I went to a full-fledged 40 seah mikveh. So you're saying you want to lead Berachot Mazon. Mr. Cohen, did you ever have to make a case for yourself to do Berachot Mazon? You should give it to me because of this, that. Usually if you're in the room, they just give it to you, no? You tahor. Here's the opposite of tahor. This one's saying, I went to the 9 kav, give it to me. Then you have the next rabbi says, what are you talking about? Didn't you learn this Baraita? If you're going to do it for yourself, you could do 9 kav. You want to do it for me? No, 9 kav doesn't work. I'm going to lead in Berachot Mazon because I went to a full-fledged mikveh. Amar lahu Rav Huna, so comes number 3 and says, I'm going to do it. Why? Because I didn't need this and I didn't need that. I wasn't a Ba'al Keri. Well, you're a Ba'al Keri and you did this. You're a Ba'al Keri, you did that. I wasn't even a Ba'al Keri. I should be the one to do it. I don't even need to go through the process of tahara. So it's pretty interesting how we have this discussion. Rav Chama Tavil b'ma'alei yomad pischa lo'otzi rabbi midei chovatan. Then it concludes by telling us that Rav Chama was a rabbi who, before Pesach, he knew that he would be doing mitzvot for other people. Unclear exactly which one. But before the holiday, he knew he would be leading and doing, let's say, part of the seder or part of different things. He would be leading for the people. So he would make sure that he would go to the mikveh before Pesach. But the Gemara concludes the halakha is not like him. Meaning, either the halakha is not like him, that you're not required to go to the mikveh if you want to lead for other people, or even more broadly, more macro, halakha is not like any of them because you don't need to do this. It doesn't apply anymore, as we saw in Shulchan Aruch. The whole thing doesn't apply, which is in fact what the halakha is. There's still some that will be strict, like I had mentioned. Some will say for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, you should go, and some people go very often. But the halakha, Shulchan Aruch tells us not to. Okay, so now we have some questions. Andrew, you had a question, or I answered it? I answered it. Okay, go ahead.
Full Gemara started about the Ba'al Keri and when you should recite Shema, and he said that Shema and the Berachot Mazon is part of their Eretz, so it's not even, it doesn't even, one of them.
According to Rabbi Yehuda. Correct. Yeah, that was according to one opinion. We had a whole long list of opinions of what a Ba'al Keri is allowed to do. One opinion said he's allowed to do mikra, but he's not allowed to explain it. Or he's allowed to do MISHNA, but he's not allowed to explain it. Next one says he's allowed to do MISHNA and he's allowed to explain it, but he's not allowed to say the name of Hashem. The other one says you're allowed to do this, but you're only allowed to do Derech Eretz, which includes Shema. One opinion says you're not allowed to do anything. One opinion says you're not even allowed to go inside the Beit HaMidrash, to sit in there. You're not even allowed to listen. And then the last one, Rabbi Adam says there's no tumah. You could do everything. So we had all of these different opinions as to what it was allowed, what's not. Then, when even according to the opinions that you need mikveh, we went through a lot of leniencies. 9 kav is allowed, but that's limited. Maybe only if the person is sick. Maybe if it was unintentional. Maybe if it was a combo. It doesn't have to be a kosher mikveh. It doesn't have to be in the ground. It could be ma'im she'uvim. It could be warmed up water in the bath. It could be all of these different things. We saw there's all sorts of leniencies. At the end, Shulchan Aruch says halakha is not like that.
Just wanted to clarify, it doesn't apply today, so it could be a Ba'al Keri and then that's the next morning, pray and do everything.
Correct, that's right. Nowadays, a person can be a Ba'al Keri and he could teach, and it could be intentional, and it could be not sick. It could be he even wants to go do an ice bucket, ice plunge or something, and he wants to do it. It's not required. Now, I believe that there's some, like the Rif, if I'm not mistaken, that are still machmir for this, that say you should, but we don't have to. Yes.
Water or even if that's soul above ground, are these just generic rules? rainwater, it's just for a lot.
Yeah, very good. So this is like sort of what Andy was getting to. For a full-fledged kosher mikveh, there are certain requirements. Some of those requirements are they have to be in the ground. It has to be natural rainwater. It can't be drawn, meaning it can't be drawn from somewhere else. Now, what we're doing is with Ba'al Keri is all of these requirements. You have like all of these levers to pull where you say, I'm not going to require this one. It doesn't have to be in the ground. It could be in a barrel. Or I'm not going to require this one. It doesn't have to be only natural rainwater. It could be added. I'm not going to require this one. I'm not going to require that one. I'm not going to require a full arba'im seah. I am going to be okay with less. So what you're doing is, yes, we're not entering in the laws of Hilchot Mikvaot. There's a lot to discuss there. But all of those requirements for a Ba'al Keri, your different opinions are coming to be lenient with different pieces. So please don't learn from here with the laws of a mikveh. Let's say for a nidah we're not having that discussion now. There's a lot to discuss about it. And by the way, Andy, to your point, nowadays you can have natural rainwater is how it starts. Okay, I just want to like clarify this because what do we do? You have like natural rainwater and then what? That's used forever? No, so you can have natural rainwater is how it starts, and then you're allowed. There's all sorts of leniencies of things. You can add a little bit more water to it. You could have a filter there. You can have different types of contraptions, different types of mikvaot that you have like a lower level is the natural rainwater, but then you add something on top of it, which these things are allowed, which there's a whole lot to discuss. Maybe one day we'll go and we'll visit the mikveh here. I have no intention of doing that. Maybe you could do that with someone else. Maybe you could take a class trip. But yeah, exactly. Like maybe it's a good idea, like to go and see like the different lenience, the way we make it work. But I want to make it clear, like the mikveh here for the ladies, there's no algae. There's no germs. We have a filter. It's not ice bucket water. It's comfortable. They try to make it as comfortable and convenient for women so that they go and they have a good experience, a clean experience, a healthy experience, not a shivering experience, not a algae filled. They don't come out with seaweed in their hair or something. Like it's none of that. You're allowed to do these things. Just that you have to know the halakha of how to do it. Okay? Question? No? Yeah. Yes. There could be all sorts of reasons. It could be that men are going because of this. It could be that there's other reasons to go. There's other reasons of connection to go that not necessarily is required. Some people go every morning. It doesn't mean that they're having relations. Don't like see that and say, oh, he had relations last night. Not necessarily. There are people that are going all the time. Why? It's not required. But like I said, this is where the world of spirituality comes in. And we spoke about this maybe 2 weeks ago. That if it's something that inspires you, that motivates you, that gets you closer, even if it's not fully required, kudos to you for having some way of connecting. As long as you're not doing things that are against, and it's a way to get you closer, Ezrat Hashem, we're all different. Yes, Tomer, you had a question? Or no? No? Okay. You guys, yes?
So, what I have here that it's like 2 miles being above there, you don't really need a mikveh between it, so to speak. You need a certain amount of water, you don't necessarily need to go to a mikveh.
It depends on the opinion. Yeah, it depends on the opinion. Correct. The Ba'al Keri is clearly it's different. It's just a matter of who or what. It's not fully accurate to say you don't really need a mikveh because some say you do, but some say you don't if you're sick and it was unintentional, or if you're sick and unintentional and it's for yourself. But if it was for other, there's different thresholds here. Okay, next Mishnah. We're gonna get into some relevant topics. I have no idea what's going on. My watch is talking to me about Zoom. Whatever. Let's just go. Mishnah tells us, Haya omed bitfilah. Here we go. We actually saw this already. It's a Mishnah that's related to Ba'al Keri and then transitions very quickly into different topics. Haya omed bitfilah. The guy started praying. He already started praying Shacharit. And he's in the middle of his Amidah. And he starts, Ata chonen adam da'at, umlamed le'enosh. Uh-oh. I just remembered that I'm a Ba'al Keri. I was with the husband, remembers he was with his wife last night, and he knows that there's certain things that, according to the opinions, that you're not allowed to pray. What is he supposed to do? So Haya Omed b'Tefillah v'Nizkar Shu Ba'al Keri lo yafsik. You can't just stop your tefillah in the middle of it. You can't just stop short. Ela yikatzer. Rather, you should shorten it. How do you shorten it? By saying the first few words and last few words of every bracha. So you just Baruch Hashem Chonen Adat. Hashivenu Avinu Toratecha Baruch Hashem Haraseh B'Shuvah. Salach Lanu Amgichatanu Baruch Hashem Hanunu Rabbi Lisoach. Rifeinu Hashem Min Harafeh Baruch Hashem Harafeh Chol Basar. Sorry, I got it wrong. But you say Barachenu Hashem Elokeinu. Then tell him Atel LeBracha Baruch Hashem Mevarech Hashanim. First few words, last few words. Few words, just do it. Okay. By the way, we don't do this. Don't all of a sudden start getting ideas all of a sudden. All of a sudden, the guy has a 15-second tefillah. His whole tefillah, you're able to try. Sometimes I'm very impressed by people that cannot read Hebrew as well as me, but somehow their Amidah can be done like 20% of the amount of time it takes me to pray. I get it. Maybe I read a little bit slow, but it's very impressive. All of a sudden, when you start whispering, things go faster. Just as a thought experiment, I'm just sharing. We were, I think I mentioned this a few times. At the school, I'm doing Shema Yisrael with the kids. We're learning Shema Yisrael, and we got to the line of V'chara Af Hashem. And the kids were just like this. And then I asked them, like, can you actually say it? They don't. So we started for the past, it's been almost a month now with the kindergarten class. They say V'chara Af Hashem loud. Same volume as the rest of the Shema. And I told them, I said, we're going to do this until you know it. Once you know it, we'll start whispering. The problem is, once you start with the whispering, you never actually learn it. This is what you see. It's not a surprise. Like, if you could have to whisper, you're not actually articulating the words. You don't actually know how to say it. So this is what we're doing with the kids and the 5 and 6 year olds. We're going to say Shema Yisrael, the V'chara Af Hashem, loud. Once you know how to say it loud, then it's very simple to say, okay, now whisper, because you know how to say it. But then they weren't learning it that way. They actually were not learning it. So it's the same idea. Sometimes you say Amidah and you're whispering the whole thing. I don't even know how I got here, but this idea is like you just say it so fast, you're not actually saying the words, and don't fool yourself. If you want to know if you know the words, I have a challenge for yourself, and it's very easy because everyone has a phone. Take your voice memo app, a voice record something, and say the Amidah as fast as you can by articulating every word, and actually record it so that you can listen and you said every single word. I guarantee you it's going to take you longer than when you just, it's going to, because if having to articulate every word takes time. It takes time. So it's important. Right now we're talking about how Ba'al Keri can just skip. Okay, but we don't have this law anymore. So we shouldn't be skipping it, say every single word, even if it takes us time. Rabbi Adam always says that he would hear Rav Ezra Atiyah, who was the Rosh Yeshiva, Yeshivat Baraita Yosef, meaning the rabbi of Rav Avadia Yosef. Rav Ezra Atiyah, Rabbi Adam says as a child, he remembers being next to him and hearing his Amidah audibly. He was able to hear Rav Ezra Atiyah's Amidah, saying it word by word. He was able to hear it. It wasn't such a slow whisper that he couldn't hear. You could hear. You have to say word by word by word. Where are you rushing? It was the difference between 3 minutes and 5 minutes. It's worth it to say Amidah, say it correctly. Okay, sorry, that was a tangent, but it's an important one. Okay, quick question, trivia. What, and people of the Zoom, you could also respond. What is the latest time to say Shema in the morning? Latest time to say Shema in the morning. What?
Machloket.
Okay, very good. So you're saying Alot HaShachar. That is not the latest time of the morning. That's the latest time of the evening one, according to Rabban Gamliel. Okay, very good. So I give you half credit. You got the latest time right, but the latest time of the morning. And Igal said Machloket, which is 100% correct. 100% Igal knows how to just hack the system. Igal, what's the Machloket though?
I don't know.
You don't have to know. You already sound like a Talmid Chacham. You said Machloket. Anyone know?
Dalet Shaot.
Oh, okay. Dalet Shaot, Ita, you're jumping the gun because that's the latest time for Shacharit, the Tefillah of Shacharit. Latest time of Shema, You said it. The times that the kings get up. But what is that? Ad shalosh shaot. Until 3 hours. Rabbi Yeshua says ad shalosh shaot. Sheken derech b'nei melachim la'amod b'shalosh shaot. As the Mishnah tells us, it's the end of the 3rd hour because you have someone that's still sleeping until then. That's still uvkumecha. They're still waking up. So very good. You got it right. The first quarter of the day. It says 3 hours. However, that's the second opinion. What's the first opinion of our Mishnah? I would scroll to it, but I can't. What's the... Not the first watch. Watch has to do with the evenings. Differentiating between green and blue. Seeing your friend. This is all the start time of the Shema morning. Okay? So we got everything going on here. I asked for the end time of Shema in the morning. You gave me the end time of the night. You gave me the start time of the morning. No, chatzot. Ad hanetzachama. Our Mishnah tells us very clearly until sunrise. Ad hanetzachama. Oh, you don't believe me? Okay, let's do some good old-fashioned flipping. Let's see. Igal, you should know what daf it's on.
Are you talking about Daf Tet, where it says Dalet Amot?
I believe so. That's where it should be.
I thought that's the earliest time.
Yeah, that is. So it's not there. Ad? Where is the ad? Here, found it. It is on Daf Tet. If you go to Daf Tet Amud Bet, it says as follows. The Gomra, and you complete saying Shema ad hanetzach hama until sunrise. Rabbi Yeshua Omer ad shalosh shaot until the end of the 3rd hour. Sheken derech b'nei melachim la'amod b'shalosh shaot, because princes wake up in the end of the 3rd hour, so you have up until the end of the 3rd hour to do it. Okay, so here we have it says until sunrise. We're going to go according to that opinion in our Mishnah now. Okay, everyone with me? Let's go back to this Mishnah that we're reading now. Let's say, okay, so the first thing was someone was in the middle of the Amidah. He remembered his Ba'al Keri, so just finish up very quickly, okay? Yarad litbol. Let's say a guy is going to the mikveh in the morning, but it's before sunrise. It's after Amud HaShachar. It's before sunrise. Now, the question is, now he's in the mikveh, and he's looking at his watch. He has a waterproof watch, or maybe he took it off right before he went in. And he's calculating, sunrise, which is the latest time of saying Shema, according to one opinion, is in 5 minutes. Okay, so what's the question? The question is, should I try to get out, get dressed, and say Shema, or do I say Shema right here, right now in the mikveh? Because I'm losing time. So here's the question. Yarad litbol. Let's say the guy is dunking in the mikveh. Im yachol la'alot. If he could get out. Ulit kasot, and get dressed, v'likrot, and read the Shema, ad shelot tehei hanetzach hama, before sunrise, yale v'itkaseh v'yikra. So then that's what you should do. If you have enough time to get out of the mikveh, dry yourself off, get dressed, and say Shema before sunrise, that's your approach. That's what you should do. But let's say you don't have enough time. Let's say by the time you get out, you only have 1 minute. You're not going to be able to get dressed. Your clothes, let's say your friends are playing a prank on you, and the guy hung it on the tree across the block. By the time you get that, you're not able to do it fast. What Vimlav? Here's what you should do. You ready? Yitkaseh b'mayim. Cover yourself up with the water. Veikra, and say Shema. In the mikveh, cover yourself up in the water. How do you cover yourself up in water? Okay, you submerge, but then how are you saying Shema? You're going to drown. Okay, so very good. You guys are picking it up. You submerge up until your head, but there's a problem. The problem is that you can potentially see your nakedness. You can see your private parts. So how are you supposed to cover yourself? The answer is we're talking about going in a natural mikveh where you could just move around some of the water, kick it around, and there's going to be some dirt that'll make the water opaque enough that you can't see. Tell the guy to wait. Tell the guy I need to say Shema. Yeah. What? I guess you could, but it's when a person saying Shema Israel cannot say it undressed, even if his eyes are closed, because his heart could see his area. But if a person like makes it such that the water is dark, like become thick, then it'll be okay. Let's look at the art scroll for a second. I'm pretty sure they have a footnote on this. They should.
Question.
Hold on 1 second. I want to see the art scroll, then I come to your question. Here we go. Number 23. No. Okay, number 24. He should stand with only his head above the water. Okay, that's it. So they don't even comment about what I said about trying to make it muggy. It doesn't even say it, just as your head above the water. Okay, yes, Itai, question.
When women go in the mikveh, don't they just like put their arms across their chest to cover their lower part and say the bracha in the mikveh?
Okay, Sheila Tova Shalta, you're asking a good question. There's a machloket between what Sfaradim and Ashkenazim do with the bracha. For Sfaradim, the lady says the bracha before she enters the mikveh, before she goes in. For the Ashkenazim, they do as what you described, where they are covering themselves under the water. But Sfaradim hold that you should say that the ladies should say the bracha before they go in. Before the person goes to the mikveh. So okay, again, I really don't think I don't want to use this as a thing to talk about the laws of a woman's mikveh because it's not related. But yeah, that is a practice that Sfaradim have the practice of. The woman is covered before she goes in. She makes the bracha, then she uncovers and goes into the mikveh. So she doesn't say the bracha when she's undressed. Whereas Ashkenazim or others, I don't know what everyone does. But my understanding is that Ashkenazim, they go in exactly like what you said. They cover themselves under the water and then they make the bracha. But my understanding is that Sfaradim, they say the bracha before they go in while they're dressed. Yes. This is not telling us why the guy is going to the mikveh, but it's clear that the guy is going to the mikveh. Okay? This guy is going to the mikveh, and we're saying, hey, as you're in the mikveh, you have to do clock management. You know, in a QB, you have 2 minutes left. You got to figure out, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I do this? Can I do that? We're not talking about why this guy is going to the mikveh, but we're saying this guy is in the mikveh, and he finds out, I have 1 minute to get out. It's not enough time. Just say, if I have 5 minutes to get out, it's enough time for me to get dressed, then that's better. And get out, get dressed, and say Shema. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about why this guy is going to the mikveh. We didn't get into that. It could be a Ba'al Keri. It could be a Ba'al Keri. It most likely is a Ba'al Keri. Yeah. Sorry, Itai, did I answer your question? I just realized I moved on. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, good. Question? Okay, good. I'm going to keep going. Unrelated question. Okay, very good. Let's keep going. Next. This is for Andy. Yes.
Saying Shema and this, is that considered learning Torah to the point where Ba'al Keri before saying Shema?
So it's a machloket because we had in our MISHNA, the last MISHNA, that a Ba'al Keri yaharher lelibo. He's not allowed to recite the words of Shema verbally, but he's allowed to think the words of Shema. When it comes to the Berachot of Kriyat Shema, he's not even allowed to think. And then Rabbi Yehuda came and said he's allowed to say it, both Shema and the Berachot. So it's the machloket. According to Rabbi Yehuda, a Ba'al Keri is allowed to. According to the Tanna Kama, he's not allowed to. So this guy is going to the mikveh. Now it could be that you hold like the first opinion that you can't even say Shema. It could be he holds like the second opinion, but Rabbi Yehuda, he only allowed us to do derech eretz, as you said. But there's other parts of Torah study that he would require you to go to the mikveh. This guy, we don't know why he's in the mikveh, but the point is, we're more talking about something else. The guy's already in the mikveh. He only has a minute left to say Shema. So it's telling us, here's what you can do. You could say Shema when you're naked. As long as your body is submerged underwater, keep your head above and say Shema. Okay. Now, when we're covering ourselves with water, this is for Andy. But when the water that you're covering yourself, it cannot be lo b'mayim hara'im. It can't be bad water. V'lo b'meha mishra, and not with soaked water. What does bad water or soaked water mean? Water essentially that has a foul odor. If it has that's how you're saying what bad water is. If it has a smell, if it's still sitting water, that's a smell. Or soaked water. What is soaked water? Most likely, it's like something that's used for laundry. They just went and they did a whole laundry of the whole entire thing, and then afterwards, it stinks. It's something that's been made dirty. You cannot make a bracha in that water, or you cannot say Shema Yisrael in that water. There's certain things that cannot be done in that water, so don't do it in there. So how do you remedy it? The answer is you add water to it. So you start seeing here that you could have a kosher mikveh that's kosher, and you're allowed to add water to it, which is what I was talking about, how there are ways to deal with it. And you see, now it doesn't say how much water. You could add a lot of water. So you could eventually end up pouring and clearing it out by adding a lot of water. There are ways to make a dirty mikveh clean, even if you're not adding rainwater. You don't have to add natural rainwater. Okay? And if this water smells and you want to say Shema, you can't say Shema inside of it, so you want to get out. Are you allowed to say Shema right there? How far do you have to distance yourself? How far do you have to distance yourself from foul-odored water in order to pray? Also, from seah, from excrement. The answer is Arba Amot. Arba Amot is approximately 6 feet. Why would someone be near excrement? A bathroom, if the flush doesn't work? Is it? Yeah. Porta potty. Let's say there's a porta potty, or let's say for whatever it is. What? A farmer. Yeah. Joe, you got to come up with some other idea. Why would you be near some excrement? Camping. Someone at the restaurant. What? Animals. Oh. Tommy, you change any diapers? Yeah, there you go. It's very, yeah, it's like, yeah. So it can be very simple. You're holding your baby and your baby stinks. Why does the baby stink? Because it has excrement. Can you pray mincha as you're holding your baby and your baby needs number 2, dirty diaper? Are you allowed to? Before you throw the baby 4 amot away. Hopefully there's some cushion there, but you're not allowed to.
6 feet still.
Yeah, what's your wingspan? Can you? No, you can't. You can't do that. It's very important. Or let's say in my baby's room, we have like a little garbage that you throw the diapers in. It's like a container for the diapers. That thing stinks. Sometimes the whole room stinks. Okay, like especially if it's open, it has like a door to shut it, contains the smell. If not, if I'm praying and I'm within 4 amot of that is human excrement. You're not allowed to pray there. You're not allowed to. It's very important. I remember this rule. Who said camping? Camping is that's actually a great example. You could be camping and you turn around and there's like you go to like a park, like a public zone where they do the barbecues and they have like all of the picnic tables. You turn around, there's like a diaper there and it stinks. It's very possible, or whatever it is. I don't know why. Like I said, the porta potty. These things could have a strong smell. You are not allowed to pray there. So here, our Mishnah starts off, it's amazing. We start talking about a Ba'al Keri. Then we transition into a Ba'al Keri that's running late, like a delayed Ba'al Keri, who he's only got a few minutes before the latest time of Shema, so he wants to say Shema in the water. Then that transitions into whether you can say Shema in smelly water, which then transition into can you pray next to human excrement, and it's a pretty fun transition, but it's important, and these are very important halachot. Because then, guess what? The next part of the Gemara is going to transition into can you pray if you need to go to the bathroom, if it's within you, right? So these are the discussions that are going to come up, which are very relevant. People have to go to the bathroom all the time, and you have to pray, and you're going to miss minyan. What should you do? What if it's number 1? What if it's number 2? What if I could hold it in? How long could you hold it in for? Like these are important discussions that are going to come up in our Gemara, all based on this computer's still restarting. It's unbelievable. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm gonna force restart it at this point. Good, everyone with me? Tell me, what are the three parts of the Mishnah? Three parts of the Mishnah. Let's go. Quick summary. Three parts of the Mishnah. Part number one. Ba'al Keri. Okay. First part of the Mishnah, it's on the screen. The first part of the Mishnah is if it's a Ba'al Keri and he's praying, but he didn't know he was a Ba'al Keri until he already started. Once he started, he remembered. What should he do? Say the beginning of and end of every bracha, cut it short. Finish up quickly, okay? Just, yalla, finish. That's number one. Number two? Oh, you want...
There's a question on that.
Yes. You're in a mikveh. You don't know if you're going to make it before the latest time of Shema. What should you do? So if you have enough time, you get up and do it. If not, you say it right there, but cover yourself with the water, which I told you, it's either it means you cover up until your head, or you try to move around a little bit so that it's not as opaque. Sorry, it's not as transparent, so that it is more opaque. Good. That's 2. 3. So that water that you're going to be saying Shema in can't smell. Okay, that's the third rule. And number 4, you have to distance yourself from that smelly water or from waste, from excrement, 4 amot. Okay, so we really learned like 3 to 4 topics in this Mishnah. Okay, let's go with the Gemara. You ready? Yeah, you had a question, Andrew?
So, it sounds like the Mishnah is saying there that they're accepting that Ba'al Keri technically can say maybe say Hashem's name, technically say some words of Torah, even if they aren't actively a Ba'al Keri.
Why?
Saying short in your brachot, but it's still saying you can say brachot.
Yeah. Okay, so this came up in this Gemara. It came up in the Gemara that this came up before. Yeah, you're right. That why do you not make him just stop? Right? Like clearly he's allowed to say something.
Stop when they already said it. Stop.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, that's very good. So you see how there is some leniency with the Ba'al Keri. Very good. This came up in our Gemara a few classes ago. Okay, beautiful. Okay, very good. Let's keep going. Gemara, we learned Tanu Rabbana, we learned in a Baraita. It looks like I just needed a good old-fashioned push of the button. I'm gonna get my laptop going for the last couple minutes. Okay, Gemara, we learned in a Baraita. Haya omed bitfilah. A person is in his prayer, v'niskar shu Ba'al Keri, and he remembers that he's a Ba'al Keri, lo yafsik, don't stop, ela yikatzer, shorten your prayer by doing it quickly. Okay? Haya koreh b'Torah. Let's say he's reading the Torah. It's his bar mitzvah parasha. And he gets up, he's reading the Torah, he never does this, he's reading the Torah, and as he's reading the Torah, he realizes, v'niskar shu Ba'al Keri. What would you do? What would you do? You're in the middle of reading the Torah. You know you shouldn't be doing this. What would you do? You would cut it short. But you're reading the Torah for everyone. So what does it say? Okay, hold on a second. What is it? Okay, so you have like respect for other people, right?
Don't they only have to read 3 psukim in the Torah? Then they could do another aliyah?
Very good, Yigal. You got it. Yigal, you got it. Very good. So here we go. Here's what it says. Here's what you're supposed to do. Don't stop. You got to keep going. You're in the middle of an aliyah. You can't stop. You can't just stop short where you are. So what should you do? Be megamgem the koreh. Read as your megamgem. How do you translate megamgem? Okay, what do they translate it as? Slur, mumble. Here, the Sfaria translates it as do not interrupt, or rather read quickly with less than perfect diction. So start slurring your words. So what on earth? We start reading the words incorrectly. But how does that help exactly? Okay, so Rashi says, just read it fast. Let me see what Rashi says. I have it here. Megamgem, Rashi says, b'merutzeh. Read it faster. But if you read it faster, what does it help? You're saying the same number of words. Are you allowed to do this or not? It's saying, maybe it's saying, don't drag it out. Is that what it's saying? What does it mean, megamgem? Megamgem means to slur your speech. But then you're reading the Torah incorrectly. So why are you even doing it? I believe there's a footnote here. What is it?
She says it quickly.
Okay, Adam, say that again, Adam. Very good. Number 30. Rashi says, read it quickly. Other Rishonim, though, understand this to mean that he should not pronounce the words clearly. Don't pronounce the words clearly. I don't know how that would help. Like that. Oh, so they learn it from somewhere, the kids. No, what are you getting there? Alternatively, he should omit the name of God. Says Rabbi Yonah, it means don't say the name of Hashem. Okay, that's possible. Let's keep going. Rabbi Meir says no. En Ba'al Keri Rashai Likrot B'Torah Yoter Mishosha Pesukim, exactly as Igal said. The minimum amount of Torah that has to be read for each aliyah is 3 pesukim. So if he remembers that he's a Ba'al Keri, if he already read 3 pesukim, just stop. If you read 1 pasuk, just read 2 more and stop. Just get to the minimum of what's required. Each aliyah minimum is how much? 3 pesukim. So get to 3 pesukim, then stop. So the next person will pick up from where you left off. That's how we're gonna say it here. So you have to just read 3 pesukim. That's the 2 opinions here. Tanya Ida, we learned in another Baraita. What time is it? Yeah. Haya omed b'tfilah. Okay, you know what? Now we're going to transition to another topic. Tanya Ida, we learned in another Baraita. Haya omed b'tfilah. A guy is praying. V'ra'a soah kenegdo. And all of a sudden he sees excrement in front of him. What does that mean? Dirty diaper. He had to change the diaper. His hands were dirty. He left it on the floor. All of a sudden, he forgot about it there. Now he's coming and he's praying Amidah in his home. And as he's praying, all of a sudden, he sees the dirty. What's that smell? What is that smell? All of a sudden, he sees it's a dirty diaper. Okay? Haya omed b'tfilah. He's standing. He's praying. And he sees there is excrement next to him. You can walk in the middle of the Amidah. You can walk forward. You can take steps forward until you reach the point that it is 4 amot behind you. So start walking forward. But there's another Baraita that says, no, don't walk forward. Walk sideways. La Kashia, the Gemara says, that's not a problem. That's not a contradiction. Had efshar, had lo efshar. It depends on what's possible. Ideally, you're walking forward. But let's say you can't walk forward. Let's say I'm praying east. This is east. Let's say I'm praying against the wall. Okay, I'm praying against the wall. And then all of a sudden I see there's a diaper right in front of me. Okay, and I want to pray east. So I need to get this behind me. How do I get it behind me? By walking forward. By breaking through the wall. Obviously, it's not possible. So in that situation, I'm allowed to do some side step. You know, do 3 side steps. I got myself 4 amot away. It's okay to be on the side in that situation. But if it happened in the middle of the room, it's all about walking forward. You want it to be behind you. And if you can't be behind you, you want it to get it to your side. I had a memory of when I was in 4th grade or 3rd grade, maybe it was 4th grade, that I had a rabbi, and he was going to pray somewhere. I don't know where we were. We were on a trip or something. And he was praying, and there was a garbage bin next to him. And right before he started looking through the garbage. Started looking. I actually don't remember what grade it was. But I remember he was looking through the garbage, and then he started praying. I don't know what he was looking for. Presumably, he was looking for a diaper. Because this is the halacha that you're not allowed to pray if there was a diaper there. So he was looking. He saw that maybe it was a bottle. Maybe it was like some papers. It wasn't anything bad. So you're allowed to pray. You're allowed to pray by a garbage bin if all you have in there is recyclables. You know, some tissues. It's not a problem. But if there's something that's excrement, then you're not allowed to pray there. So this guy, he started praying without checking. It's a mistake. You have to check before you pray. But he started praying without checking. Then he realizes it's in front of him. So go forward. If you can't go forward, go sideways to get yourself from a distance of 4 amot away. Okay? Yes? Is it count for animal excrement? I don't think so. I actually have to look it up. I didn't get a chance to research this. I don't think it applies by manure. Like if you have cow manure or horse manure.
It smells bad.
Anything that smells bad? Okay, there you go. What?
So you're praying out. Let's say you're praying outside, like we used to do the backyard, and someone has a dog. We used to do that. Runs out.
Right.
Makes outside.
In the middle of your Amidah. Right on top of it. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good question. What if it's covered? If it's covered and it's contained, it's okay. If it's covered and it's contained, it's fine. But if it's uncovered and you can smell it, it's a problem. It's a very good question. Very good question. I think for this, I'd like to do some additional research. So Gabrielle, you're saying if it's anything that has a foul odor, not just human excrement, but even animal excrement or human vomit, or like what? Yeah, I guess if it's something that has a very foul, that's what we said with the water. The water, it was water that you wash clothing with. It has a ma'im ra'im, foul odor. Okay, we're gonna look into the halacha for this. But one thing that you learn from here is that you have to be sensitive about when you're praying. You have to look around you. If a person is praying the Bet Knesset, hopefully it's clean. If a person has to pray on the road, or if he has to pray at home, or if he's going to pray somewhere in some corner, you know the trick about the cell phone, right? You all of a sudden you're somewhere, you got to pray. You just go and you just put the cell phone by your head and you pray Amidah. So this way, no one thinks you're crazy because you're praying, but because they think you're talking. But meanwhile, you could just put an earbud. Yeah. Okay, you don't have to chuckle for that one tefillah. Don't chuckle. But before you do that, you should look around. If there's garbage, if it smells, you're not allowed to pray it there. Okay, that's what we're learning now. Someone had a question. Someone on the Zoom had a question.
Yeah, Rabbi, I was going to say, I think I learned that it was saying if there's actual excrement there, it has to be 4 amot. But if there's a foul smell coming from it, even if you're 4 amot away, you still can't pray until the smell is gone.
Very good, very good. If there's a foul odor, then even more than 4 amot is a problem. Very good. So if you could smell it, then it doesn't matter where the source, how close it is to you, what the proximity is. Very good. Okay, we're going to do these halachot. Okay, we're getting ourselves introduced to this topic. We're going to spend some time on this, and we're gonna do the halachot also. Last one. Presumably, it's about the same concept. The foul odor could be whatever the source is. That's right. It could be from a dead animal. Ew. Yeah. Same concept. Very good. A person is praying, and as he's praying, he finds there's a pile of excrement right next to him. Amar Rabba said, even though you sinned by praying without checking around, you should have checked your surroundings. You didn't. You did something wrong. But even though you did something wrong, tefilato tefilah. Your prayer is fine. Do you need to pray again? No. Rabule, as they say. You prayed, it's fine. Matkif le Rava. So Rava argues and says, V'hazevach risha'im to'eva. There's a pasuk in Mishlei that says, when a rasha brings an offering, it's not acceptable, it's abominable. Why is this guy called a rasha? Because he didn't check beforehand, and he should have checked beforehand. Strong language to call the guy a rasha, but it's saying it's improper. Before you pray, you should make sure that your surroundings are fitting for a place to pray. This guy didn't. If someone is a wicked is a rasha, and they bring an offering, it's not accepted. So you sin by praying without checking for your surroundings, your tefillah should not be accepted. Ela amar Rava. Therefore, Rava says, Ho'il v'chata, since you sin. This guy sinned, even though he prayed, tefilato to'eva. His prayer is not acceptable. His prayer is not accepted. So these are the two views as to what happens if someone prayed and they found out there was excrement. Do they need to pray again? According to the first opinion, it's accepted. The second one is like, no, you should have checked. Now, if it's a situation when all of a sudden a person is in the Bet Knesset, in this place where he always is supposed to pray, and all of a sudden he sees there's a surprise there. That's not his fault. He's not a rasha. But if he's in a place where he should have been checking, like I said, an outdoors type of place, a place that it's common somewhere where it has smell and you didn't really think twice, then according to this one opinion, you would have to repeat your tefillah. Be'ezrat Hashem, next time we'll talk a little bit more about the halachot. Okay.